Good morning. Welcome to the Monday edition Community Voice presented by Oak Mountain Academy and by Tanner Health Systems. I'm Mike Parrish. We thank you for joining us. Privileged this morning to talking to the three-time defending state champion Bowdon Red Devils head coach and Coach Rich Fendley. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you joining us this morning.
Well, glad to be here and just glad, somebody's interested in anything I've got to say.
Well, let's see. 3 straight state championships. You're already working toward 2025 in the new season. So the first question, are you going to make it 4 in a row this year? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm just kidding, Coach.
Well, that's a goal on the board. A lot of luck will have to, ride behind that. But that's a goal, and we would love to do it. And we got a good nucleus of kids who are battle-tested, who have played. I think we got 14 kids who have been a part of the previous 3, so hopefully that strong nucleus will give us a shot at least to have an opportunity to go play deep again.
All right, so you win it in 22, 23, 24. Looking at the 3 state titles, has it gotten more difficult each year as far as repeating?
Yes, it's definitely gotten it's gotten harder, and for a lot of reasons. And we tell our kids these reasons all the time. One, obviously, when you win, the bullseye is on your back, and each week you get everybody's best football game.
It gets bigger, I guess, too, as the season goes on in each year, right?
It gets bigger, and then, everybody is trying to figure out what secret sauce you have. So nobody's staying the same in their off season. Everybody's trying to do something a little different, a little more. So, we tell our kids we can't do the same thing we did last year to get there because everybody else is doing more. And then, you fight complacency. You fight, hey, we've been there, we're done it, we're on the top of the mountain, and, we can relax, we can, kick back. And, after the first one in 22, that was very obvious in how our off-season started. It was the slowest off-season I've ever been a part of, and I kept asking questions. Is it because we played 5 extra weeks? Because we played till Christmas break. But our kids were slow to kind of crank it up. This year's bunch has been, we're having the best off-season we've had in the 3-year, 4-year run. So, we're excited because of that.
Was the first one easier? Or has it been easier because the guys know what they've got to do in order to get back to the mountaintop?
Yeah, I think the first one's the hardest one because there's so much pressure. I tell people all the time it wasn't very enjoyable until there were zeros on the scoreboard in that game.
1-point game, wasn't it? The championship game.
It was I think that year it was a 39 to 31. I mean, it was still a nail biter. But the first year, there's so much pressure. You're worried about as a coach. Am I doing everything right to help our kids win? How do we need to handle the extra days off during the state championship week? How hard do we work them? And I remember calling as many coaches as I could think of who had played in a state championship game, whether they had won it or lost it, to kind of figure that out. And I did put a lot of pressure on myself, to make sure, we did everything right. And I remember nothing about that run was enjoyable. Now, the second year, I told myself, hey, we've been there, we've done it. You know how to do it the right way. And I was a lot more relaxed. I think our staff was a lot more relaxed, our kids. That one was enjoyable. Last year was enjoyable. But I don't think they get any easier. I think they continue to get hard, because you're playing different teams each time, and everybody's hungry to win, their state championship.
Bowdon head football coach Rich Fendley, our guest here this morning on Community Voice. About to, what is this, eighth year coming up, I guess.
Yes,
Bowdon,
sir,
correct?
It'll be year 8.
Go back. Rough first year when you were at Bowdon. I guess laying the foundation, and then you had the second year, you went 8 games, 7 years in that third year. But I guess those teams sort of set the stage and prepared all that, laid the groundwork for all this, didn't they?
Yes, we had a rough year 1. It was a fun year 1. We were laying the groundworks, and we didn't have a lot of kids that were playing at that time. I think we had about 43 kids, and we had some kids that didn't buy into the process that first year, and we got rid of those kids, or a lot of them kind of got rid of themselves.
Right.
And we were playing with a lot of young kids, especially our skill kids. We had some ninth graders starting. I think our starting running back that year was a freshman. But it was a fun bunch, fun seniors. They did things the right way. They worked as hard the first week of the year as they did the 10th week, and that was a year we were 0-9 and won the very last ball game of the year. And I told our seniors that first year that they had no idea how much or how that one win, buying into what we were doing would kind of ignite, what our program would become. And all the juniors on that team, we had a really good off season because they didn't want the same results their senior year, and we ended up with a really good team. We were 6-0 out the gates year two. Lost to Christian Heritage, lost to Darlington, two really good private schools, and ended the year at 8-2. Had a first round bye. I think we had one of the hardest schedules in the state of Georgia, which ranked us number 2 in the power rankings that year, and got knocked out of the playoffs. And then, of course, year 3 was COVID. Very, very slow start. And I tell people all the time, the one thing that I learned from COVID is how valuable the off season is to our program. I mean, we didn't get one. We didn't have one. We were 0-3 out of the gates, but ended up coming back and winning the first region championship since 2014. And then from that season, it's just kind of taken off. So it's been a process. It's been a building process, but our community, our kids, and our coaches have bought into it.
3 straight. You look at all the history of high school football in the state of Georgia, all classifications, your Valdostas, all the Atlanta schools, locally, Carrollton, Central won back-to-back. When you look, you're only the 14th school in the history of the state to win 3 successive state titles. That's pretty impressive, isn't it?
It is, because, you don't know that going in. Now, obviously, we've looked up since being told that how many have done 4, and it's only been 2 schools. It's been Buford and it's been West Rome. So that hadn't been done, and I've told our coaches that we're not putting that pressure on our program to do that. We're going to take one week at a time, one game at a time, and when we get there, if we're fortunate enough to get back to a state title game, then we're going to talk about that at that moment of how big, that is, and how hard it is to do, and how fewer programs have done it. But that won't be something we talk a whole lot about unless we get there.
Well, you've got a big-time prospect now in Caden Prothero, but you've done this. You've had guys go on to play at the next level, whether it be Division I, Division II, or whatever, but you really haven't had the big-time guys to do this, have you? No, we hadn't at all. We've had, some smaller Division I kids, a lot of Division II and Division III kids. We have been fortunate enough. I think we've signed close to anywhere between 18 and 20 kids over this 7-year run. But none like Caden. He's a special kid. Being your best player, your hardest worker, your best classroom kid, your best character kid, and being your best weight room kid. But that kind of has taken over our whole culture down in Bowdon. But we've done it with a bunch of blue-collar kids, and that was our goal. We knew that being Class A, you would never have multiple big-time Division I kids. You may have 1 or 2 here or there. So we knew the program has to be built on your blue-collar kid, has to be built on your hard worker, your kid that's going to be tough, your kid that's going to do what he's coached to do, may not be your most athletic, may not be your biggest or your strongest or your fastest, but our goal is to get whatever 11, whatever 16, 17 roll in on offense and defense to do what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, and how they're supposed to do it. In the day and age we live, everybody, it's instant gratification or whatever, That's pretty special, though, that as blue collar, you just grind it out and work it out to be able to do this. Well, we get excited. We're in the phase right now of who are going to be our 4 or 5 kids that didn't play a lot last year for us, and they're going to be, players that do some great things for us this year. And we kind of count on 4, 5, 6, sometimes 7 or 8 kids that don't play a lot the year before, and we're excited to see them through our spring and then through the summer. And if enough of those kids make for us, we feel like we're going to have a chance to be really, really good again.
obviously your starters and what they did last year and those guys, and I think we have 7 back on offense, 7 back on defense. So who are those other 4 kids? That's what we're trying to find out. And then defensively, we've gotten, to the point where we play about 18, 19 kids every Friday night when it matters. And who are those kids going to be? But it's definitely a program built off the blue-collar kid.
Bowdon Red Devils head football coach Rich Fendley visiting with us, talking about back-to-back 3 state titles for the Red Devils. And we'll have more as we continue with Community Voice presented by Oak Mountain Academy and Tanner Health Systems right after these messages.
The AP Scholar Journey at Oak Mountain Academy is designed to provide students with a clearly defined advanced placement curriculum track to earn a series of distinctions upon graduation. This journey enables academically prepared students to pursue college-level studies throughout 17 AP courses in 5 subject categories while enrolled at OMA. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us on the mountain. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
Consider the Mobius strip. Take a strip of paper, twist it, connect the ends. This connection forms a continuous loop. Seamless, infinite. That's how your healthcare should be too. At Tanner Health, the Mobius is our symbol and our promise, representing our continuum of care and our commitment that the services you need will be here for you always. We're not just changing healthcare, we're redefining it. See more at tanner.org.
Welcome back to the Community Voice presented by Oak Mountain Academy and Tanner Health Systems. I'm Mike Paris, along with the cast of characters that you can't see behind the walls here. Thanks for joining us on 1330 AM WLBB and 106.3 FM, and also we're live on the WLBB Facebook page. We are visiting with Rich Fendley, head coach Bowdon Red Devils, back-to-back state titles as they won 3 in a row and trying to make it 4 straight looking ahead to 2025. You've mentioned several times your off-season program. I forgot the name of it, so I'm going to let you tell us. I know after you won number 3, just you finished mid-December, late December really, I guess, this year. And 1st of January, boom, you're right back there starting and getting it going. Tell us about your off-season program.
Well, I mentioned earlier, we learned a lot about how important the off-season is for us back in 2020 when that got taken from us. And, you didn't get the lift from about March on. You had to bring your kids in individual, small groups and things like that. It's where our team is made. We tell our kids our team is made in January. It's not made in the summer. It's not made in August. I think you go back 25, 30 years, you used to have a week of overnight camp before the season started in the summer, and a lot of people dreaded that. It'd be 2-a-days or 3-a-days, and that's where your team was made, due to not being able to hit so many days a week, different rules, school starting earlier. That's gone. So, where can you make that up? And for us, it's in January. We come right out of, playing for a state championship in December, and we've played right up to Christmas break 3 years in a row. Our kids get 2 weeks off, and then we come back in January. We have a week where we kind of acclimate them back to lifting a little bit. But that second week, we start our death by squats, our death by bench, and, we make it fun. I'm a big guy. The culture has to be fun. Your kids have to love and be addicted to coming in the weight room.
You like the weight room, don't you?
I love the weight room. I think our kids love the weight room when we have, coaches come by to visit or kind of take a peek at what we do. That's the one thing that their takeaway is, man, y'all's kids love it. Like, y'all's kids are addicted. You can tell they love coming in this weight room. So we try to make it extremely hard but extremely fun, and we try to do things that we don't think other programs are doing. Obviously everyone's lifting, but we try to make it really, really hard. We lift them heavy. We don't do any running the first 2 months. It's just all about bulking our kids up. No speed work. Our January and February is let's get as big as we can. Once March rolls around where we are now, it's not death by squats they fear, it's sled day. So we're lifting Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and then we're doing some small workouts on we lift Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, full class period. Tuesdays and Fridays we lift half a day, And then we're on the field doing speed work on Tuesday, and then we're doing it's our tough man day. It's our character day. It's our, how mentally tough can we make you with the sleds on Friday. And that'll lead us into our spring combine, which is what we do for our spring practice, being that we do 2 fall scrimmages. So that kind of leads us to a little fun. We test all our kids out in May, and then we'll head into summer workouts. But the mentality of our football team, the toughness of our football team, it's being made right now.
So do you just do this before school, or is it the first period?
It's first and second period.
Okay, gotcha.
It's first and second period right now. I think we found a way to finally make it work where we can go first period with all our guys in the fall. Right now we split them. Half of them are in first, half of them are in second.
Right.
I do think that's better for the relationship piece of our job. It's 4 coaches, 20 kids, where you really, really get to know your players as opposed to 4 coaches and 67 kids, which is what we have in our program right now.
So all you do is lift the first 2 months, and then you said you get out and do some sled work. Are you doing agility drills and things in there too?
Yeah, we do a lot of explosive lifting on our speed days. We're going out doing some agility stuff, doing some one-leg stuff, and then we get into our sprint work, trying to get them faster and in shape. So we do incorporate some of that stuff in there too. I know, and this is a unpopular opinion out there, but I know me and head coach Tim Barron, who is now down at Hurd, enjoying some of the back end days.
You work for him, right?
I did work for him, and it wasn't really a debate. It was just a discussion he and I had one day in his office was the type of kids we had at Hurd, and we were doing a lot of, we were taking 2 whole days and doing nothing but agilities, trying to get faster, and you do get faster, and you do get better running mechanics when you do those things. You do get more explosive. But
Right.
we started talking about the ceiling. How much do you gain, as far as the agility versus strength and size. And, we sit there and say we're trying to spend equal time on something we're not going to get equal return on. So, we just kind of felt that, hey, we're going to sell out on getting bigger and stronger. Then we'll incorporate this when it's time to incorporate, get in shape for spring. And it's just been a model that's worked for both of us in our careers.
Have you, as the old saying goes, the wheel's never been reinvented. Have you taken ideas from other people, whether it be high school or college, or some of this is just stuff that you've come up with on your own? And
No, I don't know if I have anything original or not. I've worked for some really good people, and the things that I thought were awesome. I tell you, one of my biggest influences when I got in this profession back in the late 90s was Rick Tomerlin, who was down at Washington County at the time. And I thought he was the weightlifting guru. Those guys won a lot of weightlifting state championships, and they were winning football state championships. So I figured they correlate, they got to go together somehow, and I knew that I wanted to do those things, and really got into the weight room myself at that point, trying to learn, but stolen some things definitely from him. Tim Barron was another really, really good weight room guy that I got to work for. He did a phenomenal job. My wife's brother, my brother-in-law, Jay Floyd, down at Thomas County Central, he's so smart. It's like talking to a rocket scientist when you're talking about weight room stuff. And, of course, I go to different clinics to listen to weight room stuff, too. I have found out this, though, over the 29 years I've been doing it. Them kids better love it. It better be fun. You can do them on the whistles. You can make it miserable. But if you get them kids addicted to lifting, it makes all the difference in the world, because you're going to get so much more gain out of it.
Well, and the coaches have to believe in that too, don't they?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got coaches that lift with our kids. We got coaches that pick at our kids, and we mess with our kids all the time and say if we had a lift off, our coaches would beat our players, and they have a lot of fun with that.
You've had a couple of changes. This is really the first time, I guess, during this run you've lost guys on your staff, isn't it?
Well, it's the first time, and I was explaining this to somebody the other day, it's the first time over the 3-year run that we've lost some coaches. We're actually, in 8 years, this will be our fourth defensive coordinator that we've had. Coach Blake Morgan took a job at Cambridge last week on about Wednesday, and he will actually be when we make an O-line hire, it will be the 4th offensive line coach we've had. It's just we haven't had any changes, in the last 3 or 4 years. But the good thing about that they're, Coach Ed's leaving us to go to Flowery Branch. Great coaches, great friends of mine. We're going to miss them. Our kids are going to miss them. But the great thing is if I were to post the job, defense coordinator Bowdon football or O-line strength coach Bowdon football, you would get 50 to 60 resumes for that. And, I've got the luxury of being able to call who I want. And it's good people, good programs. So, I feel pretty confident we'll get some good coaches in.
We got one more segment to go with Coach Fendley. Rich Fendley, Bowdon Red Devils head man. We're talking with him this morning. Community Voice presented by Oak Mountain Academy and the Tanner Health Systems. And we continue in just a moment.
The customized academic scholar journey at Oak Mountain Academy is individually designed to provide students with a personalized, clearly defined academic track that earns the student a series of distinctions upon graduation. This journey enables academically driven students to pursue a focused, rigorous course of study personalized to their wants and desires. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us on the mountain. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
Consider the Mobius strip. Take a strip of paper, twist it, connect the ends. This connection forms a continuous loop. Seamless, infinite. That's how your healthcare should be too. At Tanner Health, the Mobius is our symbol and our promise, representing our continuum of care and our commitment that the services you need will be here for you always. We're not just changing healthcare, we're redefining it. See more at tanner.org.
Welcome back to Monday's edition Community Voice presented by Oak Mountain Academy and the Tanner Health Systems. I'm Mike Parris, and our guest this morning as we talk some high school football with Bowdon head coach Rich Fendley. Back-to-back state champions in, 22, 23, and 24. 40 wins and 5 losses in those 3 years of the 3 state titles. Your first head coaching job was at Alexander, and then you were an assistant for a few years before you got back in as a head coach at Bowdon. What's the difference in Rich Fendley now as a head coach as compared to that first go-round when you were at Alexander?
Well, when I took that job at Alexander, the biggest difference is I thought I knew a lot of football, and I realized very, very quickly that I didn't know near the football that I thought I knew.
You hadn't been in coaching very long then either, I guess.
No, probably right about 10 years,
Okay.
10 or 12 years. And for some coaches, that's plenty of time to kind of soak it all up. For me, it wasn't. I know a whole lot more now, work for a few more guys that were really, really good coaches. But, I was honored that Rob Cleveland, he was the head coach at Alexander that gave me my first opportunity as a defensive coordinator. And I enjoyed every minute of that. And, something true that we talked about off the air, we were in the largest classification in Georgia, and I've got probably more talent in Bowdon right now than we did at Alexander at that time. So, you really, really, really learn football, when you don't have a lot of great players. And we didn't at that time. So for us, we had to scheme and do a great job coaching not to get embarrassed on Friday nights or not get beat really, really bad. And, we had some wins. We never went over. We won some football games and we beat some really good teams. I know, in that we probably didn't win but about 5 or 6 games over a 4-year period, but we upset, a team that had won 25 straight games, Douglas County. They were undefeated and, beat them, and you don't do that without coaching somebody. My first year as the head coach at Alexander, we beat Woolward Academy on a goal line stand. It was the first time we'd beaten them in the history of the school, and that was a big win, for our program at that time. But just having to really, really get in there on Sunday and say, hey, what can we do, to keep the floodgates from open and get beat really bad? What can we do to move the ball and run the clock? You really, really learn a whole lot more football, when you have less talented players.
You went to Warner Robins High School, correct?
Yes, sir.
Terrific program there. I go back to, I'm an old guy, but I remember Robert Davis and the teams that he had there. Your dad was an assistant. You played under him and coached under him, I think, as well. And you mentioned Tim Barron coached under him and some other folks through the years. Who's been the biggest influence on you in your career?
Well, obviously my dad is one of my biggest influences, and I never got to coach with him in my coaching career. I played for him, but being your dad, you always want to make your dad proud. You always wanted to get a compliment, and I don't know that he ever thought I was a very good football coach in his 11 years, but you just want to impress your father, and I thought that he had a gift that no other person had, and I think that I have that gift, but not as remarkable as he did. He had the ability to take any kid. If they were a terrible player, he could make them decent. If they were a good player, he could make them a really good player. If they were a really good player, he could make them great. But he could take 11 kids, put them on defense, and make a great defense out of them. I just thought he had the knack and just the God-given ability that he could take any kid, convince them they were better than they were, and he knew how to get the best out of kids and get them to play hard. And that impressed me, and I thought, man, if I could do that one day, whatever I'm doing, whether it's football, whether it's running a business, I'm going to be very successful. But enjoyed, obviously him. He's been one of my role models. As far as in the coaching world, Tim Barron's probably the guy that I spent the most time with, that I have a lot of philosophies that are like him. He had the best relationships with kids. I think we had the most fun in his program, even though we were doing a lot of hard work in the off season and at practice. Adopted a lot of principles from him. Worked for a guy at Noonan named Robert Herring.
Right.
And only coached with him 1 year, and it was after I had been at Alexander. And I thought he was the most organized person at that time I'd ever met. Duties, kids' responsibilities. It was all written out. You went over it. Everybody, you had something you were responsible for every day. So obviously he was. I
was blessed to spend a little time with him over in Alabama when he was there.
Yes, sir. Tommy Walburn's another one that I got to coach with early in my career. I could name a lot. I could go down a list and name a lot of coaches, but Tommy Walburn was another one that, kids loved him. They had fun around him. They played hard. He was smart. He had a plan. He kept things simple, and you were going to be good at what you were doing. And we've adopted that at Bowdon. We're simple on defense, simple on O. We're going to do it to where we can execute it the right way, and we're going to make other people beat us. We're not going to beat ourselves.
Last thing as we wrap this up, looking ahead to the coming season, I guess your schedule is filled out. I know in looking back, I think this year of your regular season, 7 or 8 of those teams were in the playoffs, and then the folks you met in the playoffs. So I'm assuming you got a pretty tough schedule ahead of you this year.
It's going to be really tough because I think of our 6 non-region games, and they're all probably playoff teams, ranked opponents, region champions. I know out the gate we got Fellowship, who they were in the semifinals. We got Hurd and Macon County, who were both region champions. Bremen was a playoff team. Westside Macon a playoff team. Booker T, they were a semifinal team 2 years ago. So that's going to be really tough because everybody's going to be better. Everybody's got all their kids back. Region-wise, you've got Manchester, who was a semifinal team, and Tryon a quarterfinal team, and I think Greenville and Mount Zion have a lot of kids back. I do think Tryon and Manchester lose, but it's going to be another extremely, extremely tough road, and I don't expect to be 15-0. We haven't had an undefeated season yet on this run because of the type of people we play, but those people make you better. You find out where you're not very good early, and you can fix it.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations. It's been a great run, and hopefully continue with these guys. And best of luck as you get ready to go in 2025.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Enjoy the weight room. How about that?
We're going to. I'm about to go back and check on them right now.
Bowdon Red Devils head coach Rich Fendley, our guest here this morning on Community Voice, presented by Tanner Health Systems and Oak Mountain Academy. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for your time today. Coach, we'll do it again soon. Thanks,
yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Thank you for joining us this morning, and have yourselves a terrific Monday.
National headlines and the local story.